I think Professor Ogura is very famous in interventional procedure, especially in interventional US. He has published many new techniques, especially in the interventional US. Today he will give a talk title as the a new technique and device during the US guided transbiliary drainage. Professor Ogura, please.
Very thank you for your kind introduction. And also, it is my great pleasure to present my lecture in HANARO Webinar. So my topic is similar. I'd like to talk about novel techniques and devices during EUS-guided transhepatic biliary drainage. Biliary drainage under endoscopic retrograde cholangiopancreatography guidance is a gold standard technique for treating biliary obstruction. In case of failed ERCP, PTBD has been widely used as an alternative procedure. However, PTBD has several disadvantages such as external drainage or cosmetic problem. US-guided transhepatic biliary drainage, such as hepatic gastrostomy or hepatic jejunostomy, is recently attempted for patients with failed ERCP due to duodenal obstruction, or surgical alternate anatomy, or failed biliary cannulation. Recently, several authors tried to do USBD as primary drainage method. Recently, meta-analysis of clinical efficacy between EUS-guided biliary drainage, USBD, and ERCP as primary drainage has been published. In this analysis, total 302 patients were enrolled. According to this meta-analysis, technical and clinical success rate were similar in both groups. And overall rate of adverse event and set patency were not significantly different. However, post-procedure adverse events such as acute pancreatitis was significantly lower in US-guided biliary drainage group. As we all know, also technical success rate of EUS-guided transhepatic biliary drainage is highly reported. There are several challenging steps such as bile duct puncture, tract dilation, or stent deployment, especially for non-expert hands. As a result, severe adverse events such as stent migration into the abdominal cavity can be complicated. Recently, novel devices has been available in Japan. In addition, novel techniques has been also reported. Therefore, the aim of this lecture is to present several novel techniques and devices regarding EUS-guided transhepatic biliary drainage. First, I'd like to talk about novel devices during bile duct puncture. In malignant biliary obstruction, the intrahepatic bile duct is usually dilated, and bile duct puncture using a 90-gauge needle is easy for expert or non-expert hand. However, the diameter of the intrahepatic bile duct is much less dilated in benign biliary structure, and bile duct puncture with a 90-gauge needle, as well as guidewire insertion into the intrahepatic bile duct can be challenging. Recently, a novel 180-inch guidewire has been available in Japan, which is called Fielder. It had a 180 guidewire. This guidewire has good stiffness and operability. Therefore, we recently performed EUS-guided transhepatic biliary drainage using a 22-gauge needle in case of diameter of intrahepatic bile duct less than 1.5 mm. I'd like to show the video of regarding technical tips for EUS-guided hepatic gastroscopy using 22 gauge needle and a novel 180-inch guide wire. So this patient underwent pancreatic duodenostomy, and also hepatic genome structure was complicated. So we tried to EUS-guided hepatic gastroscopy, but the intrahepatic bile duct is not so dilated. So we chose a 22 gauge needle. The intrahepatic bile duct is punctured using 22 gauge needle, and the contrast medium is injected. And then this is novel 180 guide wire, and they also dilated intrahepatic bile duct and stomach wall like this. You can see the multi-bile duct stones here. Finally, stent deployed was performed from the intrahepatic bile duct to the stomach using intrascope channel release technique, like this. We successfully performed EUS-guided hepatic gastroscopy using 22 gauge needle. Recently, we conducted prospective trial between 90 gauge needle with 2 5-inch guide wire and 22 gauge needle with novel 180-inch guide wire during EUS-guided hepatic gastroscopy. In this study, 22 gauge needle was selected as puncture needle for intrahepatic bile duct diameters under 1.5 mm. And the 90 gauge needle was selected for diameters over 1.5 mm in this study. A total of 18 patients who required EUS-guided transhepatic biliary drainage using a 22 gauge needle were enrolled in this study. During this period, 23 patients who underwent EUS-guided transhepatic biliary drainage using a 90 gauge needle. Technical success was obtained in all patients in 90 gauge needle group, but in the 22 gauge needle group, technical failure occurred in 2 patients due to non-identification of the intrahepatic bile duct on endoscopic ultrasound imaging. So, technical success rate of 89%. On the other hand, technical success rate of 90 gauge needle group was 100%. But there are no significant differences in mean procedure time or adverse events between the groups. Therefore, outcome of a 22 gauge needle with a novel 180-inch guide wire were comparable to those of a 90 gauge needle with a 2 5-inch guide wire for EUS-guided transhepatic biliary drainage. Even in the case of insufficient bile duct dilatation, we believe, therefore, a 22 gauge needle may be first-line needle during EUSPD in the future. Next, I'd like to talk about a guide wire insertion. So, as mentioned before section, I'd like to show the lever impaction technique. The intrahepatic bile duct is punctured the 90 gauge needle, and then the 2 5-inch guide wire inserted, but unfortunately, the guide wire was advanced into the periphery of the bile duct. You can see here, this is guide wire. So to prevent wire shearing, if the needle itself is pulled back into the hepatic parenchyma. By doing so, you can easily manipulate the guide wire without guide wire shearing. So we successfully advanced the guide wire, advancing into the hepatic hydra without any adverse event. We successfully advanced guide wire like this. However, this technique is challenging for assistant doctor. So in difficult case, we sometimes use a physician-controlled guide wire manipulation, like this, like this. So I recommend in case of difficult guide wire manipulation, this technique is sometimes useful. Indeed, 24 patients who were failed in guide wire insertion by assistant doctors were almost rescued by physician-controlled guide wire manipulation. Final technique is moving scope technique. I'd like to show the video. The intrahepatic bile duct is punctured, 90 gauge needle. However, guide wire could not advance into the hepatic hyla. So we push the echo endoscope by doing like this. So by doing so, you can obtain the fitting axis. So we can easily sometimes advance guide wire into the hepatic hyla. Next, I'd like to talk about novel devices during tract dilation. Tract dilation is sometimes needed to insert the stent delivery system. Various dilation devices has been reported. During this procedure, bile leakage can continuously occur until stent deployment. Therefore, tract dilation should be certainly performed by one step. So this case is directed using balloon catheters. After the punctures, we insert the balloon catheters like this. However, after the intrahepatic bile duct dilatation and the stomach side were dilated, you can see here fistula was created. So bile leakage continuously occur from the intrahepatic bile duct to the abdomen. On the other hand, this is ultra tapered mechanical dilator. However, after the dilation, bile leakage can be occurred. So certain tract dilation can be obtained if electrocautery dilation is attempted. But adverse events such as bleeding is occurred due to burning effect. To overcome this matter, we produced novel fine gauge electrocautery dilation devices. Tip of this device is only 3 French. Therefore, burning effect may be reduced compared with conventional electrocautery dilation devices. I'd like to show the video of EUS-HGS using fine gauge electrocautery dilation devices. After the intrahepatic bile duct punctures, guide wire is inserted. After the deployment, the guide wire deployment, we insert the this is fine gauge electrocautery dilation devices like this. After a tract dilation, we insert the 8.5 French stent delivery system without any tract dilation, and the stent deployed was performed from the intrahepatic bile duct to the echo endoscope up to 4 cm, and then gently down and push the stent delivery system. We successfully performed EUS-HGS without adverse events such as bleeding. So next, I'd like to talk about novel devices during stent deployment. As I mentioned before section, bile leakage can occur until stent deployment. Therefore, stent deployment without tract dilation is ideal. As we all know, HANARO stent, HANARO benefit has been available. This stent delivery system is surprisingly fine, only 5.9 French. Therefore, tract dilation is not needed to insert this stent delivery system into the biliary tract. I'd like to show the video of one-step EUS-HGS using HANARO benefit. The intrahepatic bile duct is punctured using 90 gauge needle, and then the contrast medium is injected. After this procedure, we insert the 2 5-inch guide wire into the common bile duct. So we gently manipulate the guide wire, and then also we successfully advance the guide wire into the hepatic hyla like this. And then we insert the stent delivery system of the HANARO benefit without tract dilation. We smoothly insert the stent delivery system here. So finally, stent deployed was performed from the intrahepatic bile duct to the stomach. So procedure time was only 5 minutes after bile duct puncture. So we previously reported this technique as case series. Procedure time, which was defined from the bile duct puncture to scope removal, was only 5 minutes. I believe this stent might be suitable for EUS bleeding. Finally, I'd like to talk about the to perform EUS-HGS more easily. This is before mentioned. Before bile duct puncturing, echo endoscope shape is very important. If the echo endoscope, if the bile duct puncture is punctured in left image, guide wire will advance the periphery of the bile duct. On the other hand, the intrahepatic bile duct is punctured in right image. Guide wire insertion into the hepatic hierarchy can be easily performed. Therefore, before bile duct puncture, echo endoscope shape should be checked by fluoroscopic image. But to overcome this matter, recently Novel echo endoscope has been available. Compared with Olympus, function of elevator is acute. Therefore, we can easily puncture and also insert various devices. But more recently, more improved echo endoscope will be available in Japan, produced by Fujifilm. This is improved the echo endoscope. This is conventional Fuji echo endoscope. This is Olympus. As you can see, the Novel Fuji echo endoscope is very acute. Also, if 90 gauge needle is inserted, upper angle is more large among these echo endoscope. This fact is several advantages. First, device insertion is easy. As shown in this picture, if vector is like this, pushing power is escape at this side. On the other hand, if device insertion can be accurately performed, pushing power is directly introduced to devices. Therefore, we sometimes perform device insertion without tract dilation. So I'd like to show the video. The bile duct is punctured using 90 gauge needle very accurately. The contrast medium is injected. After the guide wire deployment, we insert the 8.5 French stent delivery system without tract dilation. Because very acute, so pushing power is directly introduced into the devices. So we can easily insert the stent delivery system without tract dilation. Finally, stent release was performed. This is intrascope channel release technique. We successfully performed EUS-HGS like this. Second, upper angle is very acute, so we can puncture B2 within the stomach. I'd like to show the video of EUS-HGS B2 puncture. The intrahepatic bile duct B2 is punctured like this, and then contrast medium is injected. We also insert the guide wire into the biliary tract, and we insert the stent delivery system into the intrahepatic bile duct like this. So if we use this echo endoscope, we can easily puncture the B2, not only B3. Okay, in my conclusion, EUS-guided transhepatic biliary drainage can be performed easily if the presented technique and devices are used. Please love to EUS bleeding. Okay, thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, thanks, Professor Ogura's informative speech. I think there's a lot of technique issue. I think everybody can enjoy your technique. I would like to ask you some question. What kind of dilator, mechanical or cautery, is your first choice in US guided transhepatic drainage? Why?
Me?
Yes, Professor Ogura.
Okay, okay.
What kind of dilator is your first choice?
Mm,
Cautery or mechanical? Yeah.
Okay. In my clinical practice, usually I select balloon catheters, but if volume of hepatic parenchyma is small, but leakage can be occur. So in case of small volume of hepatic parenchyma, I use electrocautery dilation. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Any question? Oh, there's one question from Yutin. Please, you have some question. That's right.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Ogura, your excellent speech. One question is, you mentioned one step fully cover metallic stents in US guided HGS. Can you share any tip to avoid cholangitis caused by blocked other HD branch?
That's right. So HANARO benefit is only available, type is fully covered. So as you mentioned, B2 can be blocked. So we during stent release, start to with stent release should be start from the B3. Not B2. So this is a very careful point. So I want to partially type of HANARO benefit to avoid cholangitis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Ogura.
Thank you.
And also Professor Yuting. I have a question. Always your talk is very meticulous, and we need to think about the technical details of these difficult techniques, drainage techniques. On your presentation, you mentioned that 22 gauge needle with the 018 guide wire actually failed in 2 cases for successful puncture. Conceptually, if the needle size is small, then it can target smaller bile duct also. So success rate may be higher than 19 gauge FNA needle. What was the cause?
Oh, in this study, the intrahepatic bile duct diameter of the intrahepatic bile duct less than 1.5 mm. We chose a 22 gauge needle. On the other hand, 90 gauge needle was used in case of diameter over 1.5 mm. So in case of failure cases, we cannot detect the intrahepatic bile duct on EUS images. So we don't perform the puncture itself.
Oh, I see. So baseline characteristics.
Yeah,
was
that's right.
Yeah, now I understand. You mentioned the B2 from stomach, and you showed that during your last part of your speech. Do you think if it is possible, B2 is better than B3 targeting?
So I recommend B2 first. In case of anti-laser metal stent deployment or common bile duct stone removal. So I usually firstly perform B3, but anti-laser stenting or bile duct stone removal, we chose at B2.
Okay, Professor Ogura, I have one question for you.
Yep.
Do you perform the usually perform the bridging technique for the high grade high-res obstruction? Do you recommend it?
Yeah. So it is usually challenging. A breaching technique is usually challenging. So I first performed the EUS-HGS, and after fistula creation, we insert the cholangioscopy, such as SPY-DS, insert it, and a guide wire and deployment to hepatic hyocyte. So I don't perform EUS guided hepatic ureostomy with breaching technique usually.
Okay, thank you. I think thank you all the three speakers. I